Welcome to Business Ethics. You're beginning what I believe is one of the most important classes in the entire business administration sequence. With so much in the news about corporate wrongdoing and even top-level executives going to jail, we need to take fair and just business practices more seriously now than ever before. What you learn in this class can someday help you to keep yourself, your workplace companions, your bosses, and even your organization out of trouble, as well as encouraging you and others to follow the principles of corporate social responsibility. During this unit, we'll study why ethics is important in the business environment, the ethics of personal responsibility and social responsibility, and we'll cover ethical norms and values and how they're distinguished from business-related norms and values. We'll go into the differences between legal responsibilities and how they may not be enough to meet standards of ethical responsibilities. That's right, legal compliance by itself isn't always enough. And finally, we'll distinguish between ethical decision-making and other decision-making as a matter of practicality. Now, through the course, we will pay some special attention to one of the most infamous stories in the annals of American business history, the Enron scandal. Enron was a Texas-based energy company that quickly grew from small roots into America's seventh largest corporation and was a worldwide operation. Long story made short, here's what Enron's success was based on: a scam of underlying lies, shady accounting, and hidden debts. When the firm finally collapsed and went into bankruptcy, employees and investors lost billions of dollars in corporate stock, many of their life savings. Even the prestigious Arthur Andersen accounting firm collapsed after it was found guilty of destroying evidence of its relationship to Enron. The result was tough federal government action to crack down on corporate fraud through the controversial Sarbanes-Oxley Act. That act dealt with business funds, political campaigning, the role of energy companies in influencing national energy policy, conflicts of interest, and more strict regulations on financial trading. What led to the Enron scandal and what might have prevented it and what was in fact done comes down to one word: ethics. In business, ethics is more than just a single word meaning to do the right thing. Business ethics actually makes up a process of responsible decision-making. In the Enron case, the company's collapse was brought about by a series of ethical failures. The aftermath was huge. Stockholders lost more than $1 billion in value. Thousands of Enron employees lost their jobs, retirement funds, and health care benefits. The scandal even touched the consumer directly. Customers in California, for instance, endured energy shortages and blackouts caused by the Enron's market manipulation. Enron's collapse also hurt hundreds of businesses that lost a large client. We mentioned the demise of the Arthur Andersen accounting firm, one of the tops in the world. The Houston community lost a major employer and a major community charitable fund benefactor. And then there were those directly involved who suffered civil and criminal punishments, including prison for a few. With business fraud and deception so much in the news, the Enron case exemplifies so well why it may be more important than ever that we incorporate formal ethics instruction into our business administration studies. As we're learning, ethics failures equal business failures. As we break the concept of business ethics into parts, we begin with the all-important stakeholder. A stakeholder can be one or many people. A business stakeholder is simply someone who is affected by the decisions and actions of a firm. A stakeholder can be an employee, a stockholder, maybe a supplier, a neighbor, even the public, and a list of others that can go on and on. The stakeholder theory is considered a model of corporate social responsibility. You've heard the claim that the responsibility of the corporation is to increase value for the company's stockholders. Well, the stakeholder theory goes far beyond that and holds that business managers have certain responsibilities to this broad range of stakeholders. It's not just about making money. This is where our study of ethics comes in and why it's so important on so many levels. Unethical behavior leads to unacceptable financial and marketing risks. The firm can go out of business, and some employees can even wind up in jail. A firm's reputation is also at stake because a good reputation is so important in honing a competitive business edge. Unethical operations can lead to consumer boycotts, but on the other hand, ethical management can pay big dividends in money and better organizational structure and efficiency. Then there are those things like trust, loyalty, commitment, creativity, and innovation that can come from ethical behavior and policy. Beyond all of this, ethical and responsible decision-making results in more ethical and responsible behavior. So just what is ethics? Well, it's not so simple a question. Of course, it includes how we act and even how we live our lives. It's practical because it affects us all so personally. Top philosophers take the concept even further. Read Aristotle, John Stuart Mill, or Immanuel Kant, and they take us into the realm of normative in that they probe into how we should act. And this may well run counter to what you might be covering in some of your other social science classes, such as sociology and psychology. These courses, unlike being normative, are descriptive, in that they deal with the whats and whys of the things people actually do. Our study of ethics takes another approach in that we'll be looking into the ideas of how we should act. When we talk about ethics and how we should live, we can take a couple of different looks at the idea. That we can mean each of us as individuals, or all of us as a societal group. So, as individuals, we're all confronted with those questions of, how should I lead my life, or what kind of person am I? This approach to ethics can be referred to as morality and the part of ethics called personal integrity. The next level is to take a look at our wider role of society. The individual, how should I live, when applied to the group, becomes, how should we live? In the business sense, this is where we begin venturing into the way business institutions conduct themselves and the effects that result for all of us. And that gets us into corporate social responsibility, or CSR. We don't lose sight that personal responsibility and social responsibility go hand in hand and even overlap. A manager makes a decision as a person, which then makes it a personal decision, but that decision involves the name of the organization as it exists in society, the eyes of the law, and even in a political environment. And then it's only a short step when those individual decision makers start being called on to make decisions for the organization that also affect them personally. So there's a balance created here. And we now come to ethical norms and values. Values are the beliefs that lead us to act or choose in one way rather than another. A company has core values that guide the corporation's leadership and the decisions made. These values can cover a wide range, for example, financial, political, scientific, aesthetic, even religious or historical. Then there are the personal values that individual decision makers can have. Institutions can even become known for their values. This is why the Enron scandal was so tragic for the Arthur Andersen firm, because during his day, it was the high ethics of Arthur Andersen the man that went so far into turning his company into such a world-renowned accounting leader. In encouraging business to operate fairly and openly, we encounter both legal and ethical responsibilities. While there are areas where they strive for the same result, there is a difference, and the law and ethical norms can be different and don't always agree. It's now common for companies to have ethics programs and even ethics officers. Usually, though, these are practically devoted to compliance, making sure the firm doesn't violate the law. The Sarbanes-Oxley Act is a dramatic example of how the law comes into play in combining and combating business fraud and wrongdoing. So, how do we go about deciding or determining what we should do or how we should act? Well, this takes us into the philosophical ethics and theories, those guidelines that provide direction and the criteria for those decisions. The traditions we have here are often called ethical theories, and we use them to explain and even defend our norms, standards, values, and principles that go into the ethical decision-making process. In short, what we have is a theoretical life map and compass. Now, would you undertake a journey without knowing the direction you're headed and what lies along the way, or at the end?